Hello everyone, it's Farket here, and in this video I'm going to talk about what I enjoyed about Sons of the Forest and the connections I've made from that. Now, I complained a lot about the game, and I do apologize for that. I think my brain went into problem identification mode rather than problem solving mode a lot of the time. But the thing is, I'm not the developer of the game, so I can't solve any of these problems. So I thought, why don't I just focus on what I enjoyed about the game? What did I enjoy about Sons of the Forest? After I thought about that, things started making a lot more sense because there wasn't a lot that I enjoyed about the game. And if expectations are high and there's not a lot that you enjoy, it's not a good mix. So I think back on my time on what I enjoyed about Sons of the Forest, and there's only one thing that I did in the game that I actually enjoyed and I have fond memories of. I enjoyed the process and the reward were both satisfying, and that was building a zipline system to get around the map. And I thought about that more. Why did I enjoy that? Why was it the only thing I enjoyed? And that led me to finding out that I enjoy building infrastructure in games. I think back of a couple of my favorite games over time, Transport Tycoon, which is purely an infrastructure game mostly. I really enjoy the process of trying connecting two train stations together over the obstacles of the map. Do you go around cities? Do you go underneath them? Tunnels are really expensive, so are bridges. Do you cut across the farmland? You got to pay a lot of money to cut across farmland because you got to destroy the farmland to fit the train in, things like that. Another game that had infrastructure that I really enjoyed a lot was The Forest. The Forest had quite a bit of it, mainly in how you got logs and boats and such like that. You had to figure out creative ways of bringing resources into your base from a distance. So the game gave you boats and zip lines, and you could make systems to help bring those resources into your base so you could make a bigger base. The process of bringing those things in the forest was more enjoyable than actually using those resources to me. And this is where the problem of Sons of the Forest comes about, is that the game has killed infrastructure and it didn't carry over from the forest. So in Sons of the Forest, there is a lot of trees, and I mean a lot. You do not need to bring in logs from afar. There is so many that it's ridiculous. Now, if you want stones, well, they just respawn every time you reload. So if you're building next to a river or a cliff edge or something, you'll get stones and you'll just pick them up every time you reload. So you never really have to leave your base to get resources. Not far anyway. A case could be made if you wanted to build on one of the islands, but the islands don't have pathing, so you can't use Virginia and Calvin for those. So getting resources in the game is boring because you don't have to think of a way to bring them in. You're just attaching a zip line from one spot to your base and then just loading the logs on. There's no thinking a better way of doing it. I mean, you can place it a little bit better, like placing it higher up over the tree so the logs go over a wall or something like that. But beyond that, you don't have to connect two systems. In the forest, you did. And you had to plan it very well to stop logs exploding and to not reach the log cap, which was 50 logs on the ground at one time, things like that. So you really had to work for the resources you're getting. And in Sons of the Forest, that isn't the same case. There's so many logs in the game that it's ridiculous. It's just a grind to get them. You don't have to think too hard about it. But this just further reinforces my point that I made in the last video I did on the game, in that it's just not a game for me. Infrastructure wasn't a focus, and I don't think it's ever going to be. They've added things like solar flight mining, but you don't need infrastructure to bring that in. It's the same case. You just keep going onto a cave, grabbing 20 per run and running back. And that's where a zipline system can help farm them. Now, with a zipline system in Sons of the Forest, the developers almost went out of their way to try and make that system null and void. They made a gigantic freaking map that is stupidly big, and we still don't know why. And how they've addressed this issue is by adding golf carts, night Vs, and gliders. And then they even added a teleporter that you can get after you've completed the game. And then they've got the jumping platform, which negates having to use a zipline system. But that is so boring to me. It's like a band-aid fix for a major problem. The player doesn't really have to work to get around. The way I could describe it, it's like fixing the system by adding a big loading screen. You just get the glider out, jump on the platform, you launch yourself in the air, and then just aim where you want to go and just wait. Building the zip lines with the building system in the game wasn't so bad. I didn't hate it. It was the only time I really enjoyed building in the game. I don't think the game's capable of change anymore. I think this is what we're going to get. The way the game's designed, it's pretty much going to stay this way. It's got its audience, and that's fair enough. I do hope in the future they can return to their roots and make a game like The Forest, but time will tell. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Cheers.